Well, Coach Moorhead, this week, coming home after 2 weeks on the road, a team that's reeling a little bit. They started 3-0 and now they've lost 4 straight, giving up a big lead in the second half last week to Bemidji. Talk a little bit about Moorhead. Let's talk on the offensive side because I know they do have some weapons.
Yeah, they do. They've played 2 quarterbacks this year. The Hodge kid, who had been their starter for the past couple of seasons, had done well, got hurt, and then Dimitri Skars, they're 2, but he's a very good player, very capable player. So kind of starts there with him. They run the ball well. They've had some games where they've been in excess of 50 carries, so something that they want to do. They have a good vertical passing attack and try to distribute the ball well. They're a good offense. I mean, they've been good on offense, as long as I've been in the league, and we expect them to be competitive in that regard on Saturday. So for us, first thing first, we got to stop that run. We've got to make sure that we're more gap sound this week than we were last week. Everyone be in their gap, 111th, doing their job. And then with the passing game, just what's so important always, just the communication on the back end and route recognition. That's going to be real important this game.
Tyler, when you look at them defensively, they've given up a lot of points, especially in the last 3-4 weeks. What do you see from them? Is there some things you think you can do against them to exploit some of their negatives?
Well, I think the first thing is, we want to establish the run like we've been able to do the past couple of weeks. So that's kind of the first thing, and they're committed to stop the run. The way that they play their defensive front and their coverage on the back end, they want to make sure that they get enough bodies in the box, and so it gives our receivers some one-on-one opportunities on the outside that we don't really see week to week. Or not as much on game film anyway. So there's some opportunities there. Our wideouts need to play well. They need to get down the field. We need to find them and throw them the ball and complete those. But again, it all starts right up front for us with the run game and with that attitude, and that's what we want to make sure that we establish early on.
They do give up a pretty good amount of yards on the ground, over 200, I think it was. And you got a hot hand or a couple of hot hands at running back. Is that going to be the game plan? Give it to Jarvis mostly, and with I'm guessing Jose starting again this week. Using those running backs that just had to string together a few.
Yeah, one of the things that we've talked offensively that's been really important to me in my career, and it's really important right now too, is making sure that we have a system of play that the players understand, that they're comfortable with, that's flexible. So when we face different defenses and different personnel groupings, that we're versatile that way. But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that the guys really have like a handle on, hey, this is the Minot State offense, and this is what we do, and this is what we run. And I think we're getting closer to that. The guys have a better perspective on what we want to get done week to week. I think you're seeing that a lot with Jarvis and the way that he's been running, just how he understands the blocking scheme in front of him better right now than he did ever before. And again, I just think that's a real critical thing offensively is to have a system and a belief in what you do. And so no matter who you play, you say, this is what we do, and we're going to run it really, really well. And that's the goal in mind that we have, and we're getting closer to that. Our running game is starting to get there. Our passing game needs to catch up, but we're getting closer to that overall goal, which, again, is this is what we do, and you've got to stop it.
Keegan, and just to go on with that, with the running game being so good the last couple of weeks, it's really kind of opened up some things, not just for your wideouts, but for you as a tight end, and starting to distribute the ball to a lot of different receivers.
Well, we got a lot of weapons in the passing game, and it makes it really easy on us when we're able to run the ball like we have the past 2 weeks. And it starts up front with our big boys, and our quarterbacks are starting to make really good decisions. Doesn't matter who's back there, and we're all confident in whoever's out there on the field.
Coach, what was your impression of Jose's performance at St. Cloud? Like you said, your running game has been so incredible the last 2 weeks, and you're, in a sense, hoping your pass game can catch up a little bit. But I thought Jose, just looking at the numbers alone, seemed to, have a pretty nice day against the Huskies. What was your impression of him, and what can you expect from him going forward as your quarterback?
Well, one thing that I've always liked about Jose is, he loves football, and he loves talking the game, and he wants to know all the details and how he can be successful. I think he's always been committed to that, which is good. As far as his performance, I mean, he was solid. There were some things he could have done a little better, some throws that I felt like we missed that we should have had. But he made some good throws. He also made some really good throws with pressure in his face. And that's always something I want to see from our quarterbacks is, can you drop back, have people in your face, and still have the courage to stand in there and deliver and take a shot while you're doing it. And he did that a number of times. He got a touchdown to Porter Sturm later in the game doing just that on a deep shot. So there were some really encouraging signs and some really good things out of him. We got to continue to work to take care of the ball better, and again, just consistency overall. But I believe that consistency issue will certainly come as he gets more repetition, more playing time. I mean, that was just his first start. Things will continue to improve as we go forward that way.
Mitch, Coach Hughes talks about them offensively, like they're 50-50, they like to run the ball and throw the ball when they can. That means defensively, what you guys have to do is be sound defensively on your assignments.
Absolutely. The defensive game plan for the past few weeks has been pretty simple. We have a couple personnels that we will send in, and depending on the offensive personnel, and basically we get handed a job, and at the end of the day, it's up to the players to do their job. So I don't think that their run game is overbearing. I think that we can stop it as long as we have guys that do their job. And I mean, if we play like we did in the first half against St. Cloud, there's going to be 0 on the board on Saturday. So I mean, as long as we do our job, we're going to be just fine.
It looks like they're passing the ball better than they're running it this year. Mitch, what do you see from their athletes, quarterback, receivers?
Well, I mean, they have a pretty decent slot receiver. He's fast, kind of like a guy that we had here last year, and he just uses his speed to win his one-on-ones. But I don't know necessarily that they've faced a secondary quite as athletic as ours. So I mean, I trust our defensive backs to be able to cover their receivers just fine. Quarterback does have a really good arm, and with a quarterback that has a good arm comes a little bit of extra confidence, and he's willing to make some throws that maybe some other quarterbacks would just eat and try to get a couple yards on the ground running it or something. He'll air it out. So I expect our DBs to come up with some big plays this week because they're going to have the opportunity to.
Tyler, were you pleased with the way your team competed against St. Cloud? I know you guys had the halftime lead, but even when St. Cloud started to, rack up the score a little bit, I think at one point in the fourth quarter you're down 2 touchdowns, but you still find a way to come back and make it a 1-score game. Maybe in the past that with this team, if it gets away from in the second half, that maybe isn't that bounce back ability, but it seemed like you guys were in it right up until the end against a St. Cloud team that's been perennially tough in this league. Just what's your overall impression of just the way you guys competed against St. Cloud, and didn't seem like you gave up until you fought till the very end?
Well, I thought in the first half we were very competitive. We made big plays in big moments. We had they're the best red zone team in our league, and we got in the red zone and intercepted the ball. We've made some stops on third down. We had done a variety of things, I felt, in the first half that were really positive in terms of our competitiveness and our execution. And then we got into the second half, and I just felt like truthfully, I think we kind of wore down mentally because we started blowing assignments that we weren't in the first half. I don't know what reason that was going on or why that reason was going on, but that's kind of what happened. And then I felt like offensively we continued to battle and kind of kept the score, competitive and stayed in the game. We just weren't able to get any stops. We needed to get at least just one stop to tie the game up, and we just couldn't get that one stop. And so in that light, I don't think that we did enough competitively in the second half defensively. I felt like, you have to compete physically, of course. You have to compete mentally too. When you're tired and you're worn down, you got to. It's like that much more you got to get out of yourself to keep going. And so I think it was really a tale of two halves in a lot of ways. I thought we played some of our best football in the first half this season, and I thought in the second half, it certainly was not the case. But all that being said, that game is in the rearview mirror. I mean, we gotta focus on Moorhead. So whatever happened there in St. Cloud, it really is irrelevant as we get ready for Moorhead. What we have to be focused on right now is our performance, our execution, our assignments. Mitch and Keegan brought up some good points about things that we'll see from these guys. We just got to make sure we're clear on that, and that we go out and execute the way we're supposed to. And to your question, being a competitor, I mean, a competitor is like in all things, like I want guys that are like competitive in pregame, that are like focused on like what they have to do, like doing their drills perfectly and competitive, like just in every facet of their life. And so as we continue to build that in our program, that translates into 3 hours of great competitive football on Saturday. And so that's kind of where we're at this week.
And so over the last 2 weeks, you guys have been, obviously getting the win and then, putting up a good fight at St. Cloud. You're getting a Moorhead team that started off great and is now coming in on the back of 4 straight losses. They're going to come in here, I'm sure looking to break their own skid. What do you have to do to combat that willingness? They're going to come in hungry, and you guys have been playing well the last 2 weeks. How do you continue that and kind of stymie what Moorhead's going to bring to the table? Certainly wanting to get back in the win column.
Well, I think the first thing is we got to take care of our house, right? Got to make sure that everything that we do, coaching, playing, all 3 phases of the game, that we're sound philosophically, we're sound against whatever they're doing. That's the first thing. That's what we work on Tuesday and Wednesday, just getting our game plan and getting it practiced. But mentally, I think is the key. We have to make sure that we bring the mental game to the table. I think with this team, physically, I think we've got a lot of tools. I think the area that we need to get better with, and as a program we need to get better with, is our mental approach to things. And that's going to be the biggest indicator in my mind of how we play this week and how the results turn out is what our mental game is. Are we focused for 4 quarters? Are we like playing with like the attitude of like we cannot get beat on this play, like we have to get it done, like our life depends on it type mentality. I mean, you want your players to feel that way. And I know it doesn't depend, their life doesn't depend on it, but I want them to feel like that kind of urgency about their business, that this is the only time they get to play college football. It's going to be over for all of them soon, and I want them to play with like the urgency that this is really critical and this really matters, and that's what I'm looking for Saturday more than anything else.